And we'll go. I guess we'll do this out of order since we've brought up Android already. Moving on to the Android world. Yeah. Well, Google and Android. Does anybody have any thoughts on the algorithm tweak? You know that.
Are you talking about the spinning of websites? They blacklisted them or something like that, or they blacklisted websites I thought was spun, but they weren't.
Well, there's that aspect of it too. Basically, what this comes down to is Google has decided that they're sick of people spamming the internet to get page rank, which is a problem Google created. So they've decided we're going to devalue sites that we consider to be low quality content. Now, of course, there are certain sites that are beyond approach. You know, little things like Apple.com and Microsoft.com and certain Google services and, you know, certain corporations, or at least you would think. You know, JCPenney managed to get blacklisted. For legitimate reasons. For those of you who don't know, JCPenney basically hired an SEO company to go out and buy every possible term that could possibly relate to anything JCPenney's sells, including things like the word mattress. And, you know, somebody covered the story and Google said, you know what, they need a manual penalty. And they imposed such a steep manual penalty that you could literally Google mattress at JCPenney and you would not get a page run result for JCPenney's. So it's like so JCPenney's is removing all their links. They should have their old semi-organic results back by the end of the month. But it really is a little thing, and this quality site thing does pose the question: are we entering that era now of sites Google likes and sites Google doesn't like?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that JCPenney, what they did was that has nothing to do with like, you know. That's just.
Well, no, it's like the like and don't like would have to do with things like Mac Rumors has been devaluated as a farming site. You know, of course they complained and they're getting their thing back, but basically there's a lot of sites that I would argue why they do content farming, that's not what they are. But it's one of those, the gray line behind monetizing your content and not being a farmer, and being a spam farmer has become so gray. I was talking about this with some people who do SEO actually last week, and they said we're trying to figure this out because I have a authoritative site that can't get above page 8, and I have a brand new site that's all the exact same content that's that's page 1 every damn time. So apparently part of this factor is how long has the site been in business. If it's a virgin site, apparently it's given the benefit of the doubt. So, no, it's going to be interesting. My guess is this is Google's first attempt at this, you know, basically go bitch at them. They go, well, okay, we've obviously penalized you too much. Yes, we would like you to continue buying AdSense because we understand that the whole reason your site exists is to perpetuate the cycle. Yes, we would like that cycle to perpetuate because we benefit from it. Yes, we understand monetizing. Yes. So, it's going to be interesting. My guess is it's going to be an interesting summer, to say the least. And I know we're not in summer yet, but my guess is it's going to be August before all the dust settles on this. Moving on to the Xoom pricing.
Xoom again?
Oh, well, I just thought I'd point out that they have been able to determine that it costs $360 to make. Which makes you wonder why it's selling for what it's selling. You know, we basically know it's Motorola who's making the price up, because my guess is Verizon's subsidizing it as much as they can without losing money. But that means there's enough room in the price.
It costs how much to make?
There's the numbers right there, $359.92.
Let me.
Yeah, if you click the second link, it's a detailed teardown of every single part.
You know,
does that include with the bulk pricing and the what do you mean? What's that called? Wholesaling? Yeah.
Yeah,
like 5,000.
That's what those prices are. Yeah.
That's strange because, as I recall,
That's just raw components.
Yeah, that's the raw components, and then you'd have to throw an assembly fee on there. But really, there.
Design.
But I mean, if I may interject, I recall them a long time ago talking about the price of the Droid X cost, like, when it first came out, it actually cost like $800 to manufacture, and it was selling ridiculously subsidized.
Yeah, well, and now the Zoom.
I'm trying to make up for that.
Yeah, now the Zoom has the exact opposite problem.
Mm-hmm.
See, that was the thing with the Droid X. They got that they needed to lead with the loss leader to establish their presence in the market. They don't think they need to do this with the Zoom. They think Android's a sure thing. We'll put out Android, we'll put out Honeycomb, and who cares? So,
quite work
If they could, I mean, with $359, they could conceivably offer that.
for $499.
They could demolish, or not demolish, but they could give serious threat to the iPad.
No. If Motorola and Verizon really wanted to take out the iPad with this price, they would figure out a way to do some kind of a revenue sharing with those oh dear God data plans, where the subsidized price for a Zoom was $399 to $449. And they could do that, and they could both make a shitload of money, and there would be, forget 15 million, they would have a hard time manufacturing enough Zooms. They would just fly off the shelf. and then it would literally be, because you hear about all these iPads, but when's the last time you actually saw one?
You see them all the time.
Well, okay.
I don't.
Me and Bit were talking about that. We never do. Anyways, what were you saying,
I don't
Jones?
see them that often, and I live right near Apple's headquarters.
Yeah.
Oh dear God. He does look like a mad genius, though.
On the campus where I go to school, I see iPads all the time.
Okay.
Where do you live near?
Where do all the...
I'd rather not publish that on video, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you after.
I know where you are, but yeah, I'm not gonna point that out. It's like, but I do find it funny that there are not more of them where James is, and that there are plenty of them where you are. That's a little weird. It's like, and of course, the other good news for the Zoom this week is, of course, that Motorola has decided they don't hate open. They don't hate people making their device, do things. They have decided that if you should decide in your infinite wisdom that you would like your Zoom rooted, that you will be eligible for a 4G upgrade. They will politely ask that you set it back to default. But in the event that you don't want to, they will still install the modem and try and install the software. So, I think they discovered the internet backlash was a little bit. I think that's something Motorola's beginning to get. Just because they're the first Honeycomb doesn't mean they automatically get a home run if they.
Yeah, you don't want to piss off the internet. Once you piss off the internet, they're gonna go with their pitchforks and torches.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with Apple here.
Yeah, we don't have blind. We don't have like shiny. No, that's not the Android mentality.
Apple has the great Big Brother thing now. Now like Motorola with they have like a king thing. If you piss off the king, if the king pisses off the people, the king gets killed. Okay.
Yeah, I am going to put this link in the video, but because of time, I don't think we have time to cover it. I thought this was a good reference source for anybody on Android. 8 must-have Android security apps, some of which are paid, some of which aren't. But I think it's useful information because it just is. And we're going to skip over the YouTube. The 6 tips is worth going into, I think, though, don't y'all? This is an article I came across. 6 tips to protect your Google phone. Yeah, it's like they're calling it a Google phone instead of an Android phone. But, protect...
Google's got a better mind share.
I guess. I'm sure that was done for keyword mining. Who knows? It's like, okay, but protect your Android with a password. And I'm like, okay, you know.
Granted.
Yeah, common sense security. Yeah, good idea. You mean I can't just pick up the phone and instantly get into it? Is anybody who's ever had something you'd rather everybody not see on your phone, you understand that the very first thing a chick is going to do is rip your phone out of your hand and start going through your whole life. So, you know, for that reason alone, you should probably have this enabled. I have
on a computer installing and
yeah, I'm not sure about the second one. The second suggestion is to customize your locked screen to display your contact information or the owner's
I think that's
information.
the theming thing. You know, like how with Windows XP users, they get viruses easily because they theme a website to look like a My Computer area.
No. That's not what this is for. By default, here's what Android does. If you leave it alone for a few seconds, it goes to that, it locks the screen. You know, by default, you have to press the menu button to unlock it, but you can add other things where it's like a combination of other things to unlock it. But when if you've done step one, where you need a password or some special thing to unlock the screen, then somebody can't pick up your phone at a bar and go, bleep. Okay, oh, this is John Smith's phone. Let me call him and tell him he lost his phone or go drop it off at their house. Their logic behind this is your lock screen should tell these quote-unquote good Samaritans everything they need to return your phone.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, I'm like, I get the logic, but I'm not going to do it. And I'm not sure I recommend anybody else do it either.
Look at this next one over here. Don't root your phone.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this, and this has to do with there are things, unfortunately, on Android you have to root your phone to do. Little things like remove bloatware, or change the theme back to stock Android, or do things like that. I honestly wish you could do all of these things without rooting your phone, because this is not something you should have to root your phone to do. But, and I think rooting should only, in some cases, you know, and we're all Linux users, at least in part here, in some cases, some of the things you have to root your Android phone for is breaking rule number 1 of root. Thou shalt not take the name of root in vain.
I think I already did that because my administrative account on Windows is root. So every time I get a USB pop,
okay, blasphemer. But that's the idea here. Basically, you should only be rooting your phone when absolutely necessary, and right now, even with Android, if you've rooted it, you have opened some security holes that you'd really rather not open. So I have mixed feelings about this one. James?
Yeah, but like, it's about being, like, if you're the highest level user and you're not that good of a user, you know, you're going to be a loser. People are administrative, they get viruses the computers, like, the problem is your computer, the problem is what's between the keyboard and the computer chair.
James, do you have anything to add on that?
Add on, what specifically are we on right now?
The rooting?
The rooting phone, and talking about if people should root?
Well, I mean, there's obvious reasons to root. I'm just I agree. I'm forced to agree with them that rooting your phone does add some security holes. If you're not a more sophisticated user, you probably shouldn't do it.
I would agree.
Yeah, same here. Because a lot of people with Windows machines, they should not be administrator either. You know?
Well, and that's a whole other problem with Windows. But we left Microsoft land.
What's this PCB Mac?
Well, that is true. It's like that's a whole thing.
However, it's not like, I don't see why someone couldn't make, rooting safer. Why it couldn't make it so that a rooted device still has the options to have that kind of security. What kind of security are they talking about losing?
That would be nice.
Well, what they're talking about is, I mean, what they're talking about there is the same reason all of us don't just, every time we boot up our machine, log in as root.
Mm-hmm.
We log in as our user. And we only take root authority when we actually need it.
Okay.
And
does rooting your phone always make you, like, this would seem obvious, but I don't know if it actually does. Does it always make you be root?
It creates the possibility for you to always be root. There's not a good way right now to root it.
There's no sudo or su for it, right?
Right.
If I don't see why rooting has to be that dangerous. If all that rooting did would make it so that instead of not being able to do something you had the option to do it instead of it just happening for you automatically, it would tell you that this is an administrative task.
Exactly, and this really is how I wish rooting worked on Android, the same way it does on a Linux box, where it would pop up wait, you need to be root to do this. Put in your root credentials. Yeah, this is honestly how I think Android should do the first time you set it up.
I wouldn't have a problem with rooting. In fact, I would prefer that to be the default.
Well, no, I would prefer this be the default for every Android device. Part of the initial setup, aside from putting in your Google account, is putting in root credentials. You've set them, you know them, and now when you need to do root things, which the average user would never need to do on an Android device, but a more sophisticated user would want to do every now and then, would be it pop up that little, oh, you must be logged in as root to do this. Okay. That's exactly how it should work. Right now, that isn't how it works. And it's the same thing with their fourth suggestion. Stick to the official Android market only. One of the advantages of Android, of course, is that you don't have to do that. But buyer beware. If you're buying from something else, you should do a little bit of diligence. If you go and buy this application that's not in the Google Marketplace from some website you've never heard of in Russia, which incidentally wants full access to every single function of your phone, maybe you shouldn't buy it and install it. You're just saying,
Could just be an overzealous advertiser, but you can't be too careful.
Yeah, and there's a reason when you enable that install apps from outside the marketplace, this big warning comes up. I understand I'm doing this under penalty of fucking my phone. If I am a dumbass, I will be screwed. I understand. It's like, have you ever seen me read that thing? It's worse than the disclaimer to South Park. And 5 is good common sense. I'm glad that the Android Marketplace has antivirus and anti-malware tools, most of which are free, which is why I'm going to put that link to the,
Is that really needed when Google is remotely removing apps when they discover security vulnerabilities?
Well, but here's the thing.
They're even beating most of the
No.
Android antivirus to do that.
Well, okay, but what the good thing about the antivirus and the other things is, any known scam that manages to get by the shields or anything else or something you overlook, it's this. I would put the antivirus scan on my mom or grandma's Android phone, because any known scam, when they try and do something stupid, it's going to go, you are being a dumbass. You are being a dumbass. Don't do this. Don't do this. That's what the point of those is.
Does the Gmail app not have phishing protection and such?
Well, it does, but this is for like the marketplace applications that get by, or other things, or people trying to exploit your device. Or it's like any antivirus. Will any antivirus catch 100% of things? Hell no. They don't work that way. It's like there's a reason 0-day exploits get by antiviruses, and they're going to.
And of course they couldn't, no matter how smart they got, because of antivirus. A virus is basically just a program, and it does the same things that a program would.
Exactly. It just has some nefarious ends.
A useful program and an unuseful program. It's just
right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the reasons. One of the we're not getting into the 8, but one of the things that was in the 8 must-have Android security apps was an application that creates a backup of all your applications, and that it's basically a rollback for Android, so that if you get corrupted by something or whatever, you can get everything back without losing any of your app data, which would be very useful for somebody who's got their whole life on their phone.
I wonder how come Google doesn't put more of that information in the cloud, seeing as how they're Google or not.
Well,
it would be their style.
Google's trying to have a very laissez-faire when it comes to Android, and I kind of like that they're doing that, even though some people are taking that and running it into the ground. Anyways, getting on to the 6th Android thing, this is one I happen to agree with, but you can't do it. And it is, you should turn off your wireless connectivity if you're not using it. Any antenna that you don't happen to be using at this exact second, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, you should turn them off when you're not using them. I'm all for that. There's a little problem with that, in that these, oh dear God, ridiculous data caps kind of prohibit you from doing that, because I guarantee you what every single person on these phones who's getting them now, they have their Wi-Fi antenna on all the time, so they have that smart switching. Oh, I'm in a spot that's a hotspot controlled by my cell phone carrier, so I don't have to use my precious data. I can use the other data that isn't data. So it's like, aside from the fact that it makes your battery life longer, it is a security exploit. But oh well.
I'm using T-Mobile, I don't care.
And I have a grandfathered in plan, and I'm sure all of y'all do too, but today's data plans suck! Moving on to the iWorld, unless anybody else has anything else to say on anything Google-ish.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on.
Ready to move on.
We're running out of time.
I know!